G'day mates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I've seen you guys asking so many comments on everything on my stream, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. Aussie, what's going on with this pro? Who are they playing with? Where are they dropping? And I want to cover all of that in today's video. We have some big topics as well. Mongraal still hasn't been able to find a team. We get to see how Tayson's new team is performing. Did Benjy stick with his old team? What's happening with Mr. Savage? All the big names and everyone else in between. That's what I'm going to cover today. It's going to be focusing on EU. Don't worry, NA East is coming. We just had our first day back of NA East Pro Scrims today. Zate is back and the pro scene is running so well in NA East. We'll have more scrims tomorrow and I want to wait another day to try to figure it out because Click's only just found a new team. There's already been some big changes over there, but EU for the most part is settled and there's a lot to talk about. So let's just jump into it. Before I talk about some of the big names who haven't managed to find a team yet, like Mongraal, like Leshy, like Mitro, let's talk about the teams that have formed that are looking really, really solid. We have Tayson, Janice, and Chapix. I already talked about this because this is one of the big teams out of EU. Hen no longer playing with Janice and Chapix and Tayson stepping in. I'm a little bit surprised to see that so far in the scrims they've been landing at Craggy. They have talked about finding a new drop spot and that wouldn't surprise me. I don't think Craggy is a fantastic drop spot for this team. It's a good drop spot and it's a drop spot with a lot of potential, but it's far from the best one on the map, especially with a lot of these alien POIs around. So we'll have to see as they get more tournaments where they actually go and where they'll be playing. I think Tayson's yet to really show his hand on this one, and Tayson can already pretty much claim any drop he wants. I made jokes about how even when Tayson played NA East DreamHack, he got dirty uncontested. Like, he demands that much respect. You pair that with Janice and Chapix as well, and I do think they're gonna get pretty much whatever phenomenal drop on the map they want, but they've still got to be careful. There's a few of those teams that if you try to contest them just for the ego or just to kind of save their reputation, they will fight the drop spot. So no crazy placements so far in scrims that I've been able to see, but I'm sure they are going to do phenomenal. Like, this is a team that if they didn't get a top 3 in FNCS, like, you would be surprised. We also had a new team forming, and now I'm sorry, a few days ago, I was impression farmed. If you guys don't know what that is, it's obviously where, you know, pros make tweets and they just do it. They pretty much lie to just get likes on it because, you know, it's a bit funny. Most of them I can see through. Unfortunately, I did think ThomasHD and Mongraal might actually be playing together. Turns out it is Queasy and Nas and ThomasHD. Not are they just playing together, they look phenomenal. And you guys might be surprised why they're not playing with Flick. They didn't make grand finals last season. I think a lot of people expected they were going to split up after that. I think they were still a phenomenal team, but not performing as well as they had a few seasons before. So time to call it quits, and it looks like a Nas and ThomasHD wanted to stay together, and the addition of Queasy is looking really, really good. They won 3 days of scrims in a row. They also have Caddy and Weather Station uncontested. This scares me a little bit because, I mean, it maybe not so much on this map with how much more loot has been added. I've been talking about that. We now have over 150 new chests on the map, but usually when you have Caddy and Weather Station, if a team doesn't have a drop spot, they're looking for somewhere on the map, Weather Station, it can be enticing. Let's just land Weather Station and the mountain and we'll get a little bit of loot and then we'll rotate. It doesn't normally end up going that way. It normally does just take a lot of loot from the Caddy team, but hey, with more drops, maybe they're able to claim them. And so far in scrims and in the Noble X Novos Cup, they came third, so they've been able to hold it down now when it comes to versing the top tier pros. So I think things could be looking pretty good for them. Those are two teams that have been, like, again, I know Tayson, Janice, and Chapix, what I can see, haven't been playing that many scrims or placing that highly, but those are two of the scariest teams for me that have newly formed in EU now. There's two other big new teams newly formed that I'm quite excited for that maybe, unless you follow EU closely, you maybe don't know too much about, but we have Bad Sniper, DKS, and Snazy. Bad Sniper and DKS obviously playing together last FNCS, didn't do the best. They were contested, but unfortunately, again, that's the story of a lot of these teams, combining them with Snazy, and they're looking really, really good. Remember, Bad Sniper and DKS are a fantastic duo. They came second in the EU DreamHack last season and placed top 20 in the NA East DreamHack, so they've already got that crazy duo chemistry. Add Snazy on top, who got 4th a couple of seasons ago, and you've got a really, really solid team. I think they should be doing fine. They're landing the South Kami split. I've talked a lot about the Kami split before in previous videos, and there is just something about Epic and this drop spot. They keep buffing it. I swear, anytime something insane is added to the map, it gets added somewhere near or on the Kami split. Not only do they now have the alien kind of, you know, one of the alien locations, which a lot of them are really strong. The one near Believers Beach looks to be the strongest longest. This one's the one that also has Sloan right next to it with the Mythic Burst AR, and it is a phenomenal weapon. So not only did Kami's team now get that extra alien location with a whole bunch of chests, they also have a Mythic on it and a bunch of loot. But that means for teams like DKS's team, who are landing on the south side of Kami's split towards Lazy Lake, they're looking even better because there's less chance that Kami's team wants to try to key south because they have so much loot and so much room to work with. They'll probably go for surge tags, but I can't see them straight keying over. But it'll be interesting to see both these two powerhouses go head to head against each other. Again, I don't know what it is about the Kami split. Epic just seems to really like it. I mean, Bad Sniper's team did get a top 3 in scrims a couple days ago, so they have had solid performances to go off, not just me thinking their previous placements are going to hold up. But I'm excited to see how they go. And a team, or at least a player I didn't talk about too much last season for having a big move, I did mention it, Force, who came from Asia playing on EU. So obviously, I believe it was Force where I was hearing a lot of people talking about his family. He lives in Russia and he's moved from obviously the Asia side of Russia towards Europe, and that's why he's now playing on EU. But he's done fantastically. They did really well in Asia before coming over, but now playing with Rezumi and Seventor. Played with Seventor last season, didn't do the best in Grands, but again, they were contested. Combine that with Rezumi, who I was hyping up pretty much in a lot of my videos throughout last season as doing phenomenally well. Unfortunately, when it came down to FNCS, just fell short in the heats. That is when they were their least consistent, which is a really rough time. They were the 5th most consistent team throughout the qualifying weeks and then didn't make it out of heats. But Rezumi finding success with Force and Seventor. They are looking good. They're landing mid-map, so very close to DKS's team right next to the Kami split. Mid-map right now is looking pretty strong, and I have high hopes for this team. We've already seen that, you know, the EU guys can come over from Asia. The Asia guys can come over to EU and do fantastically well. We had Swilliam do it, and looks like Force is trying to do the same thing as well. Before I move on to the guys who don't have a teams, we do have a few teams I did want to talk about in case you're just curious on how they're going or where they're dropping. We now have Rifler, Paco, and Marine. I really hope I'm still saying that right. They're going to be landing stealthy at the moment. We have Scram, Flowis, and Hellfire. I really like the look of this team. New Danish team on the block. Flowis and Hellfire have already made Grands together 2 seasons ago, so they could easily do it again. They now have Scram added into the mix, who's, you know, still finding a team since leaving Andretta and Refsguard. They're landing lazy at the moment. They came first a few days ago in scrims as well, so very solid performance from them. We have Michael, ADN, and Astro, so a little bit of a, you know, mix up there as well. Obviously, ADN was playing last season with, oh my gosh, how am I blanking so hard? Benji's old teammates, Amplify and Matt, so please don't come at me. I'm sorry, I got a lot of names jumbling around in my head right now. Astro, who was playing with Savin, no longer playing with them, and obviously Michael's now parted ways with Mexi. So they are 3 really good teams. They are playing together, landing at Boney. They're looking promising, but so far no crazy scrim placements from what I can see, but that doesn't mean they haven't been playing well. Now, this is a team that's very hard for me to say. Nefrizi and Tozy Alpha. I was talking about them a lot last season as well, playing now with Rotary. They did qual to the reboot round last season. They're now teaming up. They came second 2 days ago, playing out of Weeping. So again, a few really new form teams that look fantastic for me. Few of them with really high profile names and big placements already, but I'm excited for these new EU teams. Obviously, you're going to want to know about some of the existing teams like Savage's team. Honestly, there just hasn't been too much to talk about just yet, other than just, you know, where they're landing at their same drop spot. They're still playing scrims. I can't see them doing anything super exciting. None of them have really been streaming. There's just not too much to talk about. Also, there are some other new teams that I'm sure you guys will hit me in the comments with that, oh, they're insane, they're so underrated, why didn't you talk about them? Again, I haven't been waking up at 2 a.m. to watch a lot of these scrims. I've been tuning into the leaderboards, going back into VODs. I've been hitting up some of the guys like Max, who have just been giving me so much information on the EU scene. I'm trying to keep up, but once the tournaments start back up, that's when I'll have a lot more to talk about on the existing teams, like Benji's team. He is still staying with Joe and Shadow. I can't really just say, oh, they're still together. It doesn't really make for an exciting video, so don't worry. I'll be keeping my updates on EU throughout the whole season, but that's pretty much most of the new teams that I've really got an eye on. Let's talk about who hasn't been able to find a team, because there's some big names in here. We have quite a few duos looking for a third, and I mean, when I show you the list of thirds, you could probably start to piece together how some of these would go, but the biggest ones, obviously, Hen and Rezon. Rezon now no longer playing with Tayson. Tayson now taking Hen's spot with Hen, Janice and Chapix. Kind of makes sense. They're now forming a duo together, which looks very scary. Like, those two fighting potential would be ridiculous. We have Savid and Crizzy. We have Passive and Leshy, Flick and Jerky, so Fly and Bobby. We have some big names up there as well. I like the idea of Savid and Crizzy. see. That one has me exciting. Obviously, I just talked about Astro now finding a new team, so looking like he's not going to fill in there. But we have quite a few solos so far from what I could see. So just going through the list of people now still looking for a trio completely. Mongraal, Mitro, CRR, Wolfies, Vino, Nate, iDrop, Kinzel, Wakey, Amplify, Kiko, Slender, Void, Fastrocky, and Trulex. That's a big list. That is a lot of players looking for a new team. Could easily fit in with these guys. A lot of what I'm going off is just who's been playing with scrims and Twitter. Some of these might change by the time this video even comes out. Some of these I may have gotten wrong. It's very, very hard to keep track of every single player in every team. But for what I've been able to see and reaching out to some of these guys, I believe at least 95% of what I've said so far is correct. But I want to talk about why some of these big solos might not be finding a team, and specifically what Mongraal said on Twitter recently about the whole Aqua situation. If you guys didn't read the TwiwLonger from Mongraal, I'm going to put the link in the description down below. It's a very good read, and I highly, highly recommend you actually go and read it. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It was quite long. I did read it on stream, and I think pretty much everyone, I mean, it's got 40,000 likes. A lot of people in the community understood where Mongraal was coming from and really respected what he said. He basically said that the reason why he got so upset recently with Aqua on stream saying that he wasn't doing so well, he's not a great player, was because this quite often hurts these players' reputations. And I think this applies to quite a lot of these big names that haven't been able to find a team yet. When I think of this, I think of Mongraal, Mitro, Leshy. They haven't been placing a lot recently. They're still phenomenal players, but they've kind of slipped out of that realm of being like the tier 1 players. A lot of people, because of their, their influence in the past, will still hold on to them as being the best of the best. There are still kids out there who will convince you that Mongraal's the best player in the world, even though the placements just aren't there. And I think it's fair to say so. Even Mongraal himself in this TwiwLonger saying that he feels like he slipped out of that range, but he's been practicing so hard and trying so hard so that when people talk about him not doing so well or not being so good, it really hurts the reputation. I think it's an interesting topic because reputation is almost everything when it comes to the pros and who they play with. Some pros will straight up just not play with someone or give them a chance because their friends or their friend group said they're bad. And this means you have this really vicious situation where a lot of pros, if they don't do well in their team, they need to point the blame at someone. Oh no, we didn't do well because, Timmy couldn't fight. Or we didn't do so well because Jimmy was always making us go for higher ground. They were really bad players. And then the way of defending their own reputation to make sure they can still find good teammates is to point the blame at someone else. But eventually, the blame has to stop somewhere, and that person now can't find a team. I'm not saying that's why, maybe Mongraal, Mitro, and Leshy are all looking for teams, but I think they are 3 players that come to mind when I think about players who, used to be phenomenal, played with some of the biggest and best pros, and recently have started playing with other players outside of that, tier 1 scope because they can't seem to be given an opportunity. Again, it's an interesting topic to talk about, and I think, again, this TwiwLonger from Mongraal was phenomenally well worded, and again, like he said, don't send any hate towards Aqua or anything in the situation. That's not what he wanted at all. It was just a very public glimpse into how the pro scene works, and I've kind of seen glimpses of it here and there just because I'm quite close friends with a lot of the pros, but I'm not really in any of these discords. No one's really talking about how good I am as a player, so I haven't experienced it firsthand, but I thought it was an interesting topic to talk about because Mongraal went into a lot of detail when a lot of pros haven't in the past, and I hope they find solid teams. Like Mongraal even talked about having a way better routine now, and with a few more weeks of practicing this routine, he truly thinks he could be back at that level of being one of the best players in EU. Leshy tweeting out as well that he feels like he's so confident coming into the season. If he just finds a good team, he'll be able to place really, really well. So I'm hoping this is the season to turn around because a lot of these, bigger names that have come back or stuck around and are kind of grinding again have struggled to find those placements. Mongraal, Mitro, and Leshy have had a rough couple of seasons, but if you watch them play, the mechanics still look like they're there. Mongraal in particular showing huge growth and development as a player when it comes to his maturity and decision making, and man, I just hope they pop off. I would love nothing more to see all these guys back on top. It should be exciting to see. If you guys want to know what's going on with more of the teams, especially NA East, make sure you swing by my Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/AussieAntics. I'll be watching all the NA East Pro Scrims games today. They take place at 6 p.m. EST. Not sure what time that is for you guys in EU. I'm sorry, I'm only so good at doing one time conversion, but follow my Twitch channel. You'll know when I go live so you can see who's playing with who, where are they dropping, and how are they doing. But I will have a video live on my channel later today or tomorrow, pretty much, whenever I post my videos normally, recapping everything in NA East. I'll do the same thing as I just did for EU. So if you like this kind of video, please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on anything I talked about today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.